Old Testament Survey, lesson number 6. And we'll look at Genesis chapter 25. Look at Genesis 25. Genesis 25. We got down to Abraham. Abraham had a son named Isaac. Isaac had 2 boys in Genesis chapter number 5, about verse 27, named Jacob and Esau. Let me tell you how Jacob got in this thing. Esau was the firstborn. It should have been Esau instead of Jacob. But Jacob tricked him out of his birthright. It's found in verse 27 through about 34. And he sold his birthright for a bowl of pottage. And Jacob, the younger, got the birthright. And you'll find in the New Jerusalem, you'll have 12 gates. Those 12 gates are the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. It should have been Esau's boys, but actually it's Jacob's. Because he traded it out for a bowl of chili. So that's what happens in 25. And look at, you have the story of Abraham, Isaac, and then you have the story of Jacob. Jacob will take you, let's see, what were the chapters and somebody help?
28 through 36.
28 through 36, you'll find the life of Jacob. Jacob's name is changed to Israel. His name is changed to Israel. He wrestles with the angel till the break of day, the angel of the Lord. And he changes his name to Israel. That's where, of course, the nation of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. That's where you have the nation, all of their descendants. And that happened when Jacob wrestled with the angel till the break of day. It's found in 32:28. 32:28. He said, "Thy name shall be no more called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with man, and hast prevailed." So there's his name was changed to Israel. And there you have that. And then look at about verse, starting in chapter 37. You have the story of the life of Joseph. Joseph, the coat of many colors. Most of you have heard that in Sunday school. If you've been in Sunday school any time in your life. Starting in 37, Jacob. Jacob had about these 12 boys called the 12 patriarchs. And Jacob had one boy named Joseph. Joseph was one of his favorites. And he gave him the coat of many colors. And his other brothers, they hated to see him come. He was the young tattletale. And he come through there wearing that coat of many colors. His brothers threw him in a pit. And they sold him into slavery to the Midianites. And he was sold into slavery. His coat of many colors was took. They killed a goat, put goat's blood all over it, gave it to the father, and said, "Joseph is dead. I guess some animal killed him." And this is a picture and type. One of the greatest pictures and types of the Lord Jesus Christ is the story of Joseph. Joseph was betrayed by his brother Judah. Jesus was betrayed by a fellow by the name of Judas. All the similarities that are involved here. Joseph went into the pit. He was sold into, now mind you, for nothing that he didn't do anything wrong, but he was thrown into the pit. He was sold into the Midianites. He went into Potiphar's house. Potiphar's wife, tried to get Joseph to sleep with her. And he said no, and he ran out, and she grabbed his coat. And he ran out of his coat and ran out. She grabbed his coat, starts hollering rape. And so Potiphar comes home and throws Joseph in the prison for something he did not do. He was in the pit for something he didn't do. And now he's in the prison for something he didn't do. And he stayed there, and he met 2 fellows, the butler and the baker, 2 guys. And he began to tell them their dreams. And one of those two guys, one of them gets out of prison, the other one dies. Joseph ascends out of, and it's a picture of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ dies with two thieves. One of them accepts him, one of them rejects him. And that's a picture of the butler and baker in the prison. And so, anyway, Joseph ascends out of the prison into the palace. Now, the whole story goes like this. Sometimes you got to go through the pit. Sometimes it's something you didn't do. It wasn't your fault. We have a series, I don't know if there's any out there on the table, but From the Pit to the Palace. And it wasn't too long ago we preached through that. And but he's in the pit for something he didn't do. No fault of his own. Betrayed by his own brothers. Jesus came into his own received him not. His brothers is the one crucified him. Betrayed by a fellow by the name of Judas for 30 pieces of silver. He leaves. This woman falsely accuses him. You ever been falsely accused of something you didn't do? Now he's in the prison for something he didn't do. But here's the moral of the story. Before God can trust you in the palace, He'll put you through the pit and the prison to see how you respond, to make you grow, and before He can trust you in the palace. He can't just, and you're all of a sudden in the palace. You're not prepared for that. You got to go through some stuff. You got to be falsely accused. You got to be betrayed, and all of those kinds of things before you'll be any worth of anything in the palace. You ain't going to know how to respond to nothing if nothing's ever happened to you. If you've never been through anything in your whole life, then once you get to the, how are you going to go? How are you going to help anybody else if you ain't been through something your whole life? God's not going to put you in the palace and spoon feed you with a golden spoon in your mouth. He's not going to do it. But the only way, now watch, Jesus gets a crown right here. The second coming. But not before He gets a cross right here. So there are no wearing crowns in heaven until you learn how to bear a cross down here. Right. We got too many sissy Christians. Right. Krispy Kremes. Got a jellyfish backbone. Ain't never been through nothing. Whine and cry about everything. Boy, this ain't Bible Institute now. This done went to preaching. But if you want a crown here, somebody's going to bear a cross down here. And so anyway, that's the story. That's the short version of the life of Joseph and the coat of many colors. Then what happens? Look at chapter 50. Chapter 50. 26, last verse of Genesis. Last verse of Genesis. So Joseph died, being 110 years old. Now let me pause right there. Have you noticed something? Since the flood, Adam lived to be 930. Methuselah lived to be 969. Noah, I can't remember how old he was when he died. 600 and something, I think. Can't remember. Anyway, you get on this side, and you got the patriarchs. You got the son of Jacob, Joseph. He dies at 110. All right, you see how that thing is decreasing, a life expectancy. All right. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him. That's the first person who's ever been embalmed. And he was put in a coffin in Egypt. All right. So the book of Genesis starts with creation. It ends with a coffin. It starts out with something good and ends with something bad in a coffin. You put man in the mix. Now God can make those things good. He makes the creation. Everything He said it was good, and it was good, and it was good. You put man in the mix, and guess how it's going to turn out? You'll end up in a coffin. And you better know somebody that can get yourself out of a coffin. People say, well, it don't matter what God you believe in. Well, you better make sure the God you believe in has already got himself out of a coffin.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
Because if the God you believe in, you can still visit him in the graveyard. If he can't even get himself out of a coffin, how do you expect him to get you out of a coffin?
Right.
Yeah.
So you might want to trust in one that's already done it before you try to trust in one that to get you out of a coffin. Then, that's half of your Old Testament. All the way from Adam to a fellow by the name of Joseph. There's half your Old Testament right there, in a nutshell. And then you start with a fellow. This thing, Joseph, is second in command. Now, let me give this story right here. Second in command in Egypt. Then in the book of Exodus, look at verse Exodus 1. Exodus means the going out. Exodus, the great Exodus. Notice verse 7. 1:7 of Exodus. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increasingly abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. The land was filled with them. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not what? So when the Pharaoh that Joseph served under died, and Joseph died, all of these people of the land of the nation of Israel kept multiplying, all their kids and all that, and they started getting a multitude of people. Well, the land of Egypt was like, wait a minute now, we're gonna do something about this. So watch what I tell you. Every dispensation ends in a disaster. Fall, the flood, the Tower of Babel, and the nation of Israel goes into Egyptian bondage. And they're made slaves in Egyptian bondage. They're made to build all the pyramids of Egypt and those kind of things here. There rose a new king that didn't know Joseph, didn't know these people. So he put them into slavery. What happens is the nation of Israel starts crying out, Lord, will you deliver us? Send us a deliverer. Well, guess who he sends? He sends a fellow by the name of Moses. And in chapter number 2, you have Moses that shows up on the scene. Chapter number 3, you have the burning bush experience. Everybody remembers the burning bush. God speaks to Moses through the burning bush. And he says, go tell them, let my people go. And that's in chapter number 3. Moses gives 5 excuses why he can't do it. He says, I'm a nobody. I can't talk. They will not believe me. All these kinds of things. Everybody's got excuses, right? And Moses had some. And God said, just go tell them, let my people go. And then in chapter number 4, he gives him the signs and the wonders to prove. You'll notice, look at chapter 4, verse 1. And Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, the Lord hath not appeared unto thee. The Lord said unto him, what is in thy hand? He said, a rod. He said, cast it on the ground. He cast it on the ground, it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it. Now, people don't think God's got a sense of humor. And that's funny. And the Lord said, Moses, put forth thy hand and take it by the what? Now that's even funnier. You don't pick a snake up, period. But if you're going to pick one up, you pick it up by the head, not the tail. So God said, pick him up by the tail. And don't you, anyway. When I get to heaven, I'm going to rent this movie. Because this is going to be a good one to see. You just pull off the shelf, Exodus chapter 4. And, watch this movie because it's fun. And so anyway, he picks it up and it turns into a rod again in his hand. And so that was a sign for, and again, this is a couple of Wednesday nights ago, we did all the signs and wonders. Not going to do that right now. But this is where that comes from. Because the nation of Israel. The signs and the wonders. You ever wondered what the signs and the wonders and the healings and all that kinds of things? All of that started with the nation of Israel. Why? Because they did not believe. And so this was for them to believe in the signs. So, and then there you go. Pharaoh would not let... All right, let me give you these. All right. Chapter 7 through 11. I'll give you this real quick. Chapter 7 through 11. You have the 10 plagues. I'm going to give you the 10 plagues if you don't remember. The 10 plagues that God brought upon the land of Egypt, trying to get my people to let them go. In 720, he turned the river to blood. 720. Chapter 7, verse 20, turned the river to blood. Chapter 8, verse 6 is the frogs. Plagued the land with frogs. Frogs everywhere. Chapter 8, verse 16, lice. Chapter 8, verse 24, flies. Eight 24 flies. And then you got 9:3. 9:3 is a cattle disease. The actual plague is spelled Murrain. You'll find that in verse 3 of chapter 9. That's what it is, just a cattle disease. And then 9:9, you have the boils. If you're up north, it's boils. Down south, boils. $9.22, hail. 9:22, hail. $10.12, locusts. 10:12, locusts. $10.21, darkness. $10.21, darkness. And then last is 11:5, the death of the firstborn. Death of the firstborn. Death of the firstborn. Now, here's something you'll find interesting. The death of the firstborn, Pharaoh lost his firstborn son because he wouldn't let God's people go. Jesus Christ was the only begotten son, and he died so you could be let go. And then what you have in chapter 12, you have take the lamb, and that's where the Jews get, Exodus chapter number 12 is where the Jews get Passover. Passover is a Jewish holiday. It's the 14th of Nisan every year. And this is where it comes from. God told Moses, take the innocent lamb and kill that lamb and put the blood on the doorpost and on the side post. So it was on the top, notice, the blood was on the top and the two side posts. And when the Lord come through there, he was looking for the blood. If he didn't see the blood, then that firstborn died in that home, in that household. If the blood was there, passed over. That's where they get Passover. They still celebrate that today. They have a Passover meal, and they do that every year. They have a Passover meal. It's the roasted lamb, the bitter herbs, and the fruit of the vine, all that kind of stuff. And they still have that today. It represents Exodus chapter number 12 when they came out of Egyptian bondage. This is when they were let go. When I see the blood, I'll pass over you. And they were let go. And then, of course, you got the Red Sea in Exodus 14. The Red Sea. They parted the God parted the Red Sea. They walked across on dry ground. Now, don't let anybody tell you. Let me just say this in passing. Don't let anybody tell you that what they try to say, especially in the seminaries, and I've been to them and look, whatever about that. But some people are too smart for their own good. And they try to tell you that they really didn't cross, the nation of Israel didn't cross the Red Sea, they crossed the Reed Sea. And the Reed Sea was a marshy area, and the water was only about ankle deep, ankle deep. And they walked across an ankle deep water through the Reed Sea. That's not true. So how you know? Well, how did Pharaoh's army drown in ankle deep water? I mean, how dumb is that? And I heard this in seminary. I would tell you where I went and heard it, but you wouldn't believe it if I told you. Some of you, that may be your alma mater. I was taught the swoon theory in one particular place. The swoon theory says Jesus really didn't die. He passed out, lack of blood. And when he was placed in the tomb, the coolness of the tomb woke him up. He got up, rolled his stone away, and walked out. It's called the swoon theory. And that's when I got up and walked out. In Christian love, of course. I called my daddy. He said, I told you not to go to that liberal school in. It's a waste of money. Swoon theory. Tell them you got to take that toboggan off. All right. I don't know how we got on that, but anyway, walked across on dry ground, the Red Sea, and God parted that just like the Bible says. Then what you have, the children of Israel wander around. They could have gotten to the promised land in 2 weeks. All right? They could have got to the promised land in 2 weeks. They had to walk straight through. But what they did, they wandered around in the wilderness. And what they were doing, they were going in circles. And at 40 years, they did that. 40 years. Wandered around before they got to the promised land. Now, you say, what's that got to do with anything? Okay. It took God 1 day to get them out of Egypt. Egypt's the type of the world. It took him 1 day to get them out of Egypt. And it took him 40 years to get Egypt out of them. It don't take God, it don't take God but one minute to save you.
That's right.
He can save you just like that. But how many of you know the song, He's Still Working on Me to make me what I ought to be? It took him just a week to make the moon and the stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. how loving and patient He must be,
Yeah.
He's still working on me. When God saved me just like that, it didn't mean I turned perfect, like everybody thinks. Oh, you're a holy roller. No, I'm far from that. Ask my daughter over there. But He's still working on me. Sometimes it takes Him a good while to get the world. He saved us out of the world, just like that. Sometimes it takes Him a good while to get the world out of us.
Yeah.
And that's a picture of the nation of Israel. They're wandering around in the wilderness, wandering around, going in circles. You ever felt like you're going in circles? That's what they do. And before they got into the promised land. They get into the promised land, and they face some giants. And but in Exodus chapter number 20, I think, or 19 rather. No, 20, excuse me, 20. Let me give you this. I'm going to quit. I'm tired. Exodus 20, God gives 10 commandments. 10 commandments. And it's found in Exodus chapter 20. Moses goes up on Mount Sinai. He's got an associate pastor. His name's Aaron. He leaves Aaron in charge of the church. You with me? The preacher leaves, goes on vacation to get the 10 Commandments. He goes up, gets the 10 Commandments. He's got the 2 tablets of stone that God wrote them on. He comes down the mountain and he hears something that he's never really heard before. It sort of sounded like when you pull up at the red light.
Yeah.
And it's got that, that stuff you can't understand. That beat to it, So, Moses comes down. Now what? This is a funny story too. Moses comes down, and this is what they're doing. Now, on it, I'm cutting up a little bit. But this is what they're doing. They've got some type of music going on, and they've done got a golden calf made out of gold, and they're dancing around that, and they're taking their clothes off. Dancing around a golden calf to, all this weird music. That's what it makes you want to do. Just rip your clothes off. Anyway, so Moses gets so mad, he takes the tablets and he throws them down. He breaks all 10 commandments in less than 3 seconds. So what did God say? Moses said, what do you do now? God says, take 2 tablets, call me in the morning. And anyway, Phil, that was good. Write that down. That was good. All right, here's the 10 commandments. Now, let me point this out right here in passage. I'm just going to say this because we've got a few extra minutes, because this is about as far as I'm going to go. But in the King James study, we deal with this original stuff. People say, well, this is not in the original. In the originals, this means whatever, Well, in the Greek, and this means this, or and they start throwing all that. Well, in the Greek Septuagint, and the Greek syntax, and the grammatical, all that stupid stuff. All they do that is just to get more money out of it. And most of, PhD, that means post-hole digger. I mean, it's sort of like a curl on a pig's tail. It's cute and all, but it just don't put no more ham on the hog.
Yeah.
Anyway, 10 Commandments. The original copy. Moses comes down the mountain. He throws them down and breaks them. There goes the originals. right? What's God going to do? Moses destroyed the originals. So God is sweating. He's taking a lead, Malak's, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's not worried about it one bit. He does it again. So a lot of people say, well, there's no way the Bible is, it's come down through many, many centuries. Well, look, God can take care of that. If God can give you another copy of the Ten Commandments, because He has. In Exodus chapter number 20, you got the copy of the Ten Commandments. But it wasn't the first copy. You've got a copy of the copy. So in Exodus 20, let me give you these 10 commandments. Verse number 3, no other gods before me. Commandment number 1. Verse 4, no graven images. No graven images. Number 3, found in verse 7, God's name in vain. God's name in vain. And number 4 is found in verse 8, and that's the Sabbath day. Now the first 4 commandments is Godward. In other words, they're toward God. No other gods, graven images, take the Lord's name in vain, keep the Sabbath day. Those are Godward. And that's where he starts. If you don't have the Godward right, you'll never have the others right. Number 5 is in verse 12, honor your father and mother. Honor your father and mother. Verse 13, thou shalt not kill. That's number 6, thou shalt not kill. And I ain't got time to discuss thou shalt not kill, that commandment. People take that to, sort of like judge not lest you be judged. Number 1, they don't even know where it's found. But they go to the grocery store and they pick ripe bananas. And they judged all the ones that wasn't ripe. And they did them an injustice. If you got married, you were pretty judgmental, wasn't you? Some of you may not be. Maybe you should be. It's funny how you come up on a red light and you expect people to be judgmental. Don't you? I mean, it's a red light. Don't be judgmental. Run it. You see? But when it comes down to preaching, people, you're judging me. So thou shalt not kill. You have to put that in context because God told David to kill Goliath. You understand? All right, thou shalt not kill. Then number 7, verse 14, thou shalt not commit adultery. That's found in verse 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery. That's found in verse 14. And then verse number 8 is verse 15, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not steal. Verse 16, thou shalt not bear false witness. And then 17, thou shalt not covet. Those are 10 commandments. Not 10 suggestions. Now, next week when you get here, I didn't get to it tonight, but I had it set up. And we'll be dealing with the tabernacle, starting in chapter 25, and then we'll make our way through the rest of the Old Testament, and we'll do that. Next week, tabernacle. If you've never heard a lesson on the tabernacle, very, very interesting. All right. Thank you, Tommy. Let me turn this off.